Hello, everyone. Good to be back on the show. Slightly different timing for us. Most of you, my regular viewers, might be more used to the 11 a.m. thing, but because I'm trying to bring different speakers, variety of speakers, and they have a slightly different schedule than I am, we have shifted to this slightly evening time. Hope it is convenient to all of you. Welcome once again to your show with a slightly different theme for the last 2 weeks. I am focusing on a program called the LinkedIn Creator Accelerator Program, of which I am a part of, lucky to be. But I'll bring two guests who are also part of the program, far more deserving and successful, and we will all try and learn with them. But before we get there, if you can see me, hear me on LinkedIn and YouTube, drop a hi or a city where you are from, so that I know that this is working, right? I can see on the screen on my dashboard that it is working, but technology has a funny way of failing all of us at the wrong time. So once again, welcome. Like I said, this is my third series. I do one series which is around management concepts, and one on quality with in collaboration with Kimpro Foundation. And hi Krishna, thank you. And of course, this is the Creator Accelerator series. So a little bit about the Creator Accelerator program. So those who are active on LinkedIn will of course realize that there are some people who write regularly or post regularly. In general, these people are called creators, right? So like us, right? So and of course with your support, lot of followers, and people who like what we do, uh, it becomes a little bit of you can say a, a vocation or a hobby, right? So today I'll bring two such special guests who have done really well with this. Why is this episode special compared to the last one? So in the previous one, which was the first in the series, I brought three very young LinkedIn creators, and all in early 20s. One was 20 also, right? So who have amazing following over on LinkedIn, and just to break the myth, the bust the myth that LinkedIn is for grown-ups and Instagram is for younger ones or and those kind of things. It's nothing like that. If you have a voice, if you have content, if you can share, if you can learn from each other, this is the place. Okay. And today I will bring two guests in a minute who have used content on LinkedIn to promote their small business. Small only in the crores that they make, but very high in impact, right? And they are doing amazing business as coaches. And the reason they are on the show is not just because of their coaching work, but because they have used their content on LinkedIn to promote their uh, coaching business, right? So that's the uniqueness, and I hope you will be able to get some tips and tricks. So I expect this program to reach out to people who are hoping to make a business out of content creation on LinkedIn. So with that background, I welcome once again all of you. I see Ananda from Jakarta, uh, a regular listener on the show. So Ananta, I hope this show you like because you are in the same field, but and maybe we will be able to connect on this. Good. So time for the first guest on the show, Sampark Sachdeva. So Sampark, hi Sampark, and welcome to the show.
Hi Anshuman. Hi Anshuman.
Quick introduction. Anybody on LinkedIn, would know Sampark, but I will still dare to introduce him. So Sampark is LinkedIn Spotlight, you can say winner or part of the Spotlight program from 2019. He has a very varied industry experience, but for the last several years, been a coach, and that coaching business is why he's here. So he's a corporate trainer, sales coach, and also a LinkedIn coach, right? So those of you who want to hit him up, check his LinkedIn profile, and if you don't follow Sampark, you should, right? So uh, he's very close to 100,000 now in terms of followers, Sampark. So you may get a
Close
little
to,
bit more.
close to.
Yeah, you may get a little bit more, and you can thank me later, right? So with that, any opening comments, Sampark, before we invite the next guest?
No, thank you so much, Anshuman, for having me. I know we've had this discussion for so long of me being here, but weekends for me, considering the coaching business, is the busy time, and hence I've not been able to give time. But it's been a pleasure interacting with you over the last few months. And finally, it's all about meeting people with the same frequency, the same wavelength. And absolute pleasure to be here. Hoping that everybody who's joined in will be able to get some value out of this. Thank you so much for having me.
Sure, fantastic, Sampak. Bringing Radhika into this stream. So Radhika is a C-suite or CXO coach, and once again, like Sampak, she has mastered this LinkedIn content creation and connection to her business, and that's the topic that we will learn from. So she's been in this field for a while now. Welcome, Radhika. Any opening comments from you?
So thank you so much, Anshuman, for having me on this platform. Definitely, without this platform, I would not have met both of you, and so that's why I feel very special about this meet that we are having today. Honestly, it's as Sampak just said that it's all about meeting of minds that take you to the next level, and it's something wonderful when you go out of your comfort zone and make that effort to meet different people and learn from them, share with them, add value to each other for each other's growth and next step. So I think I mean, that's how, and more importantly, you introduced us. I would also like to share that Anshuman here is also a wonderful content creator, and it's been pleasure sharing the stage as LinkedIn top voice with him for 2022. So it's a pleasure for me to be on this platform. So that's it from me, and I look forward that this conversation adds a lot of value to everybody who is listening and also to each other. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Radhika, especially for the last part. So, but now, really, once again, welcome both of you to the show. We'll dive into the questions. I think people are already keen and interested in what you do. So, the first question, actually, we'll start with you, Sampak, and the broad question, of course, is that coaching is, of course, a large field, right? How did you land in this? Nobody starts their career to become a coach. Most people, so it is actually sometimes accidental, sometimes some kind of desire to be one. But what is your story in terms of A, how do you land in the coaching profession, and B, what do you coach on?
Okay. Thank you so much, Anshuman. So, as you had briefed that I had a decade-long corporate career. So I was with Asian Paints for 5 years. I was with Ola for another 3 years. I was with Oyo for another 2 years. And those were various roles in sales and marketing. So coaching was nowhere very close to it. My last role at Oyo, I was leading a team of 200 odd people. And that is when I realized that when you're a head of sales for 200 people, you don't do sell. You're actually just guiding those team members towards being able to sell well, and that's the part that I started enjoying. LinkedIn, on that, this other side, was somewhere that I had been writing already for 4 years at that time, and the LinkedIn spotlight had happened. So somewhere at the back of the mind, it was that maybe I would want to do something of my own. And uh, I had started thinking of it late 2019 or so. Can I look at something like this? But then that thought was actually another 4 5 years later. And around the time when COVID struck, I said, okay, now this might be an opportunity which I might just be able to grab. So that's when I took the plunge. Uh, I gave myself 4 months. It worked well. I gave myself another 4 months. It still went well. I am now 25 months into what I'm doing this, and I'm more than happy here. Now, a lot of my ex bosses are calling me back, and I'm saying, okay, I'm happy on the other side. So, what do I coach on? So, I majorly coach, and I'm also a corporate trainer. Majorly three verticals. One, the whole sales marketing, something that I've done for my whole of my corporate career. Then a whole employee capability building. So how do you excel in your career? How do you be a good manager, etc. And then the whole bit of personal branding, LinkedIn, etc. So those are the main three verticals that I cover. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks, Sampak. And pretty much the same question to Radhika. So, just to repeat, how did you land into this? Because, as I said, nobody starts out to become a coach, but we become one. And two, of course, what is your sweet spot? What topics do you cover? Over to you. You are on mute, Radhika.
So thank you so much, Anshuman. So my journey has been, I have been a banker for a large part of my life. So I started my career with ICICI Bank. I spent about 12, 14 years with them. And then subsequently, I did venture out. I did have this, what you call, kida to say that, let me do something new, let me try something new. And with a friend of mine, ventured out to start online marketing place, basically focusing on home entrepreneurs. This was way back in 2014-15 times, way before all our Instagram, WhatsApp, etc. blew up. It was a very small niche thing, but we worked quite a bit on it, only to realize that it was not taking me anywhere else beyond, unless I pump in a lot of investment and it's backed by investors. So, which is why we said that, okay, maybe this is not the game which we have to play. It's important to understand which game is good for you and where you can thrive and flourish. So I went back to joining the corporate, thinking maybe that's the only place experimentation may not work. So I started working with Standard Chartered Bank at that time. But once the entrepreneurial bug bites you, it's very difficult to leave it. You experience freedom, you experience innovativeness, you experience creativity, you experience so many different things that this time I said I have to do it in a little bit more planned manner if I have to take a plunge. And but honestly, I was looking and I was searching for somebody who could help me in this process. And I spoke to many people. The first people, of course, are your bosses, then your some so-called mentors who walk into your life, your parents, your friends, your colleagues. But unfortunately, I really didn't find somebody who could really help me navigate that path when I was feeling very stuck. And that's when I realized that everybody around me was feeling in a very sailing in a very similar boat. Everyone was thinking that there is nothing one can do if you feel stuck. This is the boat you have to just live through. As the boat sails, you will one day find the shore. For me, that kind of a complete black box was something I was not willing to accept. I said no, there has to be a way for it. There are enough and more people in this world, maybe even if it is a small number of people, who live a very inspiring life, who get up in the morning with a bounce of energy to do what they have to do, and they keep contributing more. And when this question was very very sharp in my mind, I said, okay, now it's time that I find a path which will lead me to discover myself, a path which will help me understand who I am and recreate my future based on fact as who I am, rather than diving into something because it was either told that it is good to me or it is based on what others think is good for me. Rather, I should find and offer it from my side based on what my potential is, what my passion is, what my interest is, etc. So that journey of discovery led me to identify that coaching has been a space where I have always helped people in a very, very subconscious manner, helping them getting unstuck. People come to me, even including some of my clients with whom I used to deal with, used to come up and share their challenges in their organization. It's going beyond their, you know, personal connect and sharing that. And that's when I connected the dots looking behind. And that's what they always say, you can't connect the dots looking forward, you connect the dots looking backwards. So I realized that coaching is where I can thrive. And in this journey, I have, since I started, 2020 was the breakthrough year for me. And I started coaching with one client. And today I have built a community of people. And through LinkedIn was my space where I could express and showcase the voice that I really wanted, the intent and the authenticity. So that's a bit from my side.
Thanks, Radhika. I think you beautifully summarized the fact that discovering oneself and how do we go about this, and then of course the last part actually leads us to our next segment, which is about, and this is to both of you. Maybe Sampark, you can start with the response. Is that one thing is quite common that apart from being a coach, one thing is quite common is that your businesses have grown in the pandemic, right? So I mean, nobody wants to thank the pandemic, but in a way you can, right? So in a business sense, you can, right? So, and we often hear people saying that, oh, my leads were drying up. I didn't get leads, I didn't get any business and this and that, right? And here you are, two examples who used content on LinkedIn and got more leads. So my question therefore is that how do you get your leads? What is your general pipeline method? In general, of course, because both your areas are different, so maybe the specifics might be different. But how do you get your leads, your potential clients, and maybe Sampak you can, and then Radhika, over to you.
Um, so Anshuman, from for me, since I've been active on LinkedIn since 2016,
Hmm.
and I have been writing continuously. And even at work, I started getting recognized by internal stakeholders, external stakeholders, and time and again, people had kept on telling me that, okay, can you look at LinkedIn at a larger picture? And this was specifically more so after the spotlight win in 2019. And when I moved out, and I tell this since I take sessions on LinkedIn as well, that LinkedIn for me has been a transformation. Today, 2 years into my business, in the last 2 years, almost 95% of my business comes through LinkedIn organically. Now, that means without having to reach out. I say that is the only reason I survived on this side. If I did not, I would have gone back into my corporate job. Now, but the fact, and since we're talking about personal branding, I had been able to build that brand over 4 years before I took that plunge. It had been 4 years since people had started recognizing Sampark. People had started recognizing Sampark se Sampark, the hashtag that I used. The moment I jumped, I did not need that brand of the employer at the back. And I think that's where people had kept seeing the kind of knowledge that I'm sharing or the post that I'm sharing. And I think with that, the lead flow also started. And so that's where I say LinkedIn is not about push sales. It's all about a lot about pull sales. If you are able to show value to your so-called prospect or so-called customer on the other end, they will come to you. And touch wood, so over the last 2 years, all of it comes organically, be it my speaking engagements, be it my consulting sessions, be it my coaching sessions, be it my collaboration opportunities, all have been inbound. And I am more than happy to the LinkedIn team. And I tell this to everybody. I said, you do whatever you might be in a job, you might be a student, never miss out that opportunity to brand yourself, because that's the only brand that will go with you till your deathbed. Your employer may come and go, your business might come and go, and I've been very lucky to have met awesome people on the platform, uh, courtesy which I've got leads, I've got referrals, I've got uh, hits into other inroads into other corporates as well. So that's been my major story on the lead generation.
No, I think I just want to, and this is fantastic, Sampak. Of course, some part of it I have seen it unfold, having known you for some time. But I'm sure it is fascinating for the audience as well that many people have this misconception that you have to spend a lot and get noticed on LinkedIn or other platforms, particularly LinkedIn, since we are now all part of this LinkedIn creator program. And you used the word organic a few times. Can you elaborate a little bit on why that word is so important to you and what it could mean for our audience?
So, two things. One, I have not spent anything on my marketing bit. Yes, I've tried experimenting on a Facebook ad or something, and it has failed miserably for me. But all my leads have come out of LinkedIn without spending a penny, and all of them have been inbound. There have been barely any uh, person that I might have reached out saying, "अच्छा ये मेरी सर्विस है खरीद लो."
Hmm.
So it's been inbound, it's been organic. That means it's absolutely free without having to spend any rupee on my marketing bit. It's the sheer power of creating content on the platform.
Fantastic. I think that's so that I just wanted to bring out that organic bit a little bit more specifically because I get this question a lot, and of course I'm not even in the business of selling anything because I don't have any product to sell, but I do get these questions from, especially after our LinkedIn journey has been a little bit more, you can say, prominent. And you are a perfect example, and we will get another example from Radhika. So, Radhika, same question. So what is your marketing method, and how does LinkedIn fit into that marketing method? And Of course, Sampark has this 95%. I doubt anybody can beat that, but can you come close?
Oh yes, I would say that in all my so 2020, as I said, I had 800 followers. I used to use LinkedIn only for checking, any job openings before that, or probably read about another person whom probably I'm going to meet. So as part of being a banker, I used to have a lot of client meetings. So I used to check out people who they are, what they are, if there is some common connects, etc., which is what I used to do in the past. But 2020, when I decided that I am changing my role and I am creating this new identity for myself as a coach, and I knew what is the value I'm going to add to them. I had the entire master plan in my mind. But important thing for me is, how do I reach out to people? Who are the people who should hear me out? Why should they come to me? And what are the reasons that I should tell them that why I can solve their problems? So these were the prodding questions, and I started sharing my own story in different formats, through posts, through videos, through carousels, through every other format available, because I was strongly connected to what my purpose was. And when people started reading my stories, my content, as it is called, they started relating to me and reaching out to me completely, saying that, do you help? Can you help me unstuck? Can you help me in my road to in the next road of my career? Can you help me redesign my career, etc.? So, as Sampak said, I would say that I did not have any identity prior to 2020 on LinkedIn. I started with 800 followers. In 4 months' time, I reached almost 5,000, and then 10,000, and now it's almost close to 20,000. Not as big a number as Sampark, but I feel I have come a long way from where I started. And the biggest contributor for me has been that I am very consistent. I'm very authentic in what I share. And honestly, I share my own, largely my personal story, my coaching stories. Yes, you have to write it in a way which is interesting so that your audience likes to read it. But otherwise, the content is completely, I have written every bit piece which is written. So people have asked me, is there somebody who is writing for you, because we have never seen you as a writer? So that's one other part which I would like to share to our audience, that start writing. You don't know what is the gold which is inside you, and you don't know who you're going to impact through your writing. And last year, as in when LinkedIn Top Voice was announced, it was like one epic moment for me in this whole journey, because this was not I was what I was looking to or working for, but it happened along the way. And that's what I always say, that when you're walking through your journey, some interesting side effects happen which you cannot even count on it. And today, as I create the CXO incubator community, it is a very, very different moment altogether, as I have recreated my brand and moved away from being a banker to a coach. So, LinkedIn definitely is a platform. As I think the other day, during our program, Nas was sharing about how one follower on LinkedIn is equal to around 70 followers on Facebook, and one follower on LinkedIn is equal to 50 followers on YouTube. So LinkedIn is like kind of a very cream community, which really helps people who are in the business of sharing knowledge, creating content, and wanting to grow and help others, and more importantly, add value. So, yes, my entire coaching has been happening. I would say 99% is from LinkedIn. And then, of course, referrals happen subsequently from LinkedIn to LinkedIn. In my entire journey, two people have come and joined my course because they know me from before. Rest all the people are from LinkedIn, who have watched me, seen me here, and read with my post, resonate, connect with me, and then they come and take the next step.
Fantastic. So, anybody now in the audience thinks that LinkedIn doesn't lead to a pipeline doesn't lead to a business or can't lead to one, and you are wasting your time on it. These are two shining examples, and I have many more examples. I've just picked two who, of course, AI know, and two who are doing really well and are also part of the accelerator program. But if you look around, you will find more success stories, and this is a common pattern that you will see. That if you are, like Radhika said, if you're consistent, if you're adding value, if you're sharing what you know, and you find your sweet spot, you can actually convert it into a pipeline and a lead magnet, as it is said. So every business needs a lead magnet, something which will attract people. So what is the lead magnet in this kind of a business? Sampark and Radhika are the lead magnets of their work. So they are the lead magnets. Their content is their lead magnet. So I thought through this question, I wanted to bring that out, and hopefully we've been able to convert some people. So, Sampak, the next question is for you, and you can blame yourself for this question, man. So the um, y- I know, and we briefly mentioned in the introduction, and you also alluded to it, that you are also a LinkedIn coach, right? So, which is not very usual profession. So of course, a lot of people help people to build a LinkedIn profile and become more active, but LinkedIn coach is much broader thing. So what do you do in that, in very brief, and how is that even a profession? So or a part or a service?
So Anshul, what I do is that I work with a lot of senior CXOs, VPs, etc., on their whole personal branding journey on LinkedIn. Now, and I do a lot of sessions. I work with a lot of edtechs. I do a lot of sessions with colleges. I do a lot of sessions with corporates. Just finished one a couple of hours ago as well. How to use LinkedIn, one, to build a personal brand, and second, recreate what I have done for myself. Now, I don't come with that theoretical knowledge. I've been there over the last 7 years, moved my complete corporate story into an entrepreneurship story, seen that turnaround for myself. So it's just that experience that I share. And Radhika touched upon a lot of very important points. One very important point there is about consistency. I feel that I don't consider myself a very good writer. I just feel like, okay, I've been able to do whatever I have on LinkedIn just by that sheer consistency of being there for the last 7 years. Now, what I find a lot of people who write very well, they are there for 3 months. I'm also looking up to them. Suddenly they get a new job, they're gone. Then there is somebody there, and the moment they start getting active, you know this person is looking for a job, and that's a big miss that you do, because personal branding is not about a 3 month journey. Personal branding is a lifelong journey that you need to be doing. So what I do is then I work with these senior leaders, guide them on what they should be doing, how does the thing work, handhold them in that journey of running LinkedIn for them. And yes, I do a lot of sessions on that. But yes, consistency is one. And if there are people out there who are listening to this who feel, okay, we want hacks to go through LinkedIn, there is no success, or there is no trick or shortcut or hack to build a personal brand. It is sheer posting, sheer content. Now, you spoke about lead magnet. When you normally would have done sales and you reach out to prospective clients, the first question they will ask: do you have any sample? Do you have any story? Do you have any speaking engagement that you can share? The point is, when they see your content and they come, they've already got that sampling done. They already know your knowledge. They've already seen your mindset. They already know how much you know and what you can help them with, and that works incredibly well. And that's where I said, I again, as Radhika mentioned, the plan was never to do what I am doing. I was just writing on LinkedIn, just writing on LinkedIn. One fine day in 2019, that mail popped up saying that you're a part of the LinkedIn spotlight. That was the day I realized, okay, maybe this is something that can happen. And 3 years post that, my life has changed just because of that factor. I was at 26,000 followers that time. I'm at 96,000 followers today. So I give that all credit back. Consistency, patience. I tell this in all my sessions. Those are the only two tricks to succeed on LinkedIn. Nothing else.
Absolutely, and I think I can probably bring my own example and as well here, that like many people, I probably joined LinkedIn in 2005, right? So, you know, I have to stretch my memory to remember when did I join, and it took many years to realize that okay, this is a platform. Even though the one job change in 2010, I actually got through LinkedIn. So I got a job through LinkedIn in 2010 when even my subsequent other changes also came through that. I'm not saying that this is the only reason you should be on LinkedIn, but this is a byproduct. If you're active, if you're regular, your personal brand does evolve and develop, and then it leads to multiple doors. Like for Sampark, it led to actually opening a completely new line of business. Like he said, he never imagined that he would be coaching people on LinkedIn, or how to use LinkedIn. But here he is, and Radhika's almost 100% lead is coming through this. So I just wanted to bring out these examples, and I'm glad that both the guests today, my friends, have been able to share their success stories. It's and they have been generous in sharing this, because these are secrets. These are their trade secrets in a way, and hopefully people can learn through that. So we have some questions coming in, Radhika and Sampark, and I will now try and take some. Of course, some of our friends from the creator program are also on the show. So thank you very much, guys. Uttam, you are there. Riddhi, I saw quite a few others. I might not be able to notice all of them, but yeah, let's take this question from Tarun, who's on YouTube. While building your community on LinkedIn, when you felt you can start monetizing your content? So, Sampak, you've been a little bit more in this space. Anything you want to respond to Tarun's question?
See, my only suggestion to people will be, do not go into this with that whole concept of being able to monetize. Trust me, in my till the time I was in my corporate job, people kept telling me monetize, monetize. I was already close to 40,000 followers then. But it was, if you go in with this intention ki mere ko kya milega, then that might just not work for you. You go with that intention of giving that knowledge, sharing that knowledge, and trust me, the money will come. So, and monetization on LinkedIn is not like the other social media platforms where uh, the platform pays you through ads, etc. It is more through the leads that you get. And we were part of the Creator Accelerator inauguration also, where similar part was mentioned, where it is more of a distribution platform. It's a place to showcase people your knowledge. It's a place to showcase people how much you know. It's a place to people to, yes, in a crude word, to show off what you can do. And trust me, through leads, through associations, if somebody is looking for a job, then that's what you are, whatever is your objective, that money will come through that. But use this as a platform to showcase yourself to the people. The money is a byproduct.
Fantastic. I particularly like your response that don't go in from with a monetization only approach, right? So of course there will be other forms of monetization, and this is not like other platforms like you mentioned, where you may earn from followers or ad revenue or other things. This is a slightly different concept, and of course you've done really well with this. Shifali has been posting quite regularly, so I'll take one question from Shifali. Thanks, Shifali, for lighting up the feed as well. And Radhika, would you like to take this question? This is about how do you write a story about your clients? Do you take their consent? Of course, there are two parts. How do you write the story, and then is consent important, and that kind of thing.
Sure. That's a very interesting question. When it comes to sharing any video about the clients, of course, I do take their consent. And when it comes to sharing a story has multiple parts. The audience or the people who read it are not really interested to read about who that person is, but they are always interested to know what the problem was and how you help them find a solution. So when your focus is on that, I mean, even in an article, in a magazine, people share stories about different people and they say name changed, consent, they put different names. So the point is, what is the purpose you're putting that story out has to be very clear for yourself. And when you share that story, it has to have that resonance aspect, and more importantly, how you are going to solve somebody else's problem. Because as human beings, most of us have very similar problems in different genre, in different aspects. So by sharing that story, it's not just you're solving one person's problem. By giving that approach, your readers are going to always gain a lot more by understanding how someone else has solved their problem and how they have helped themselves in the whole process. So often we notice that, especially in the coaching field, this is something I have noticed, that people keep looking for solutions at different stages, and then they are not feeling, they don't feel like they should go and seek help. So when you read these stories on LinkedIn or on a platform where you are able to connect, at least something will start seeping into them that yes, these are problems which are solvable. These are problems which can be, which you can cross. So largely I speak about stories of leadership, stories about branding, stories about how the clients have crossed over their limiting barriers to create their own new future. Because that's what I have done. I have transitioned from being a corporate from a corporate role to an entrepreneur right now, and that journey itself is so inspiring. Most of them want to do it, but they don't know how to do it. They don't, this, all these fears which are stopping you, the emotional challenges that you have to go, it's not outside, it's all within you. How do you cross those things? Those are the topics which I cover. So it is, it's all about how you share the story makes a lot of difference. So it's not about fact stating, but it's all about solution providing.
Fantastic. I think uh, I have a few similar questions, but I'll ask one which, since you mentioned videos, Radhika, and earlier Sampark spoke about writing, right? So Sampark's forte is more writing. I have noticed that you post a lot of videos, and seems like you've gravitated to videos as your major format or primary format, right? Uh, how did that happen? And any tips on how people can use how people in the audience can use videos to get your story across and get some convert that into some leads? Anything
Sure.
at all?
Yeah. This is one of my favorite questions. Actually, you touched upon a very interesting topic. So honestly, I started video. You know why? So that I move, as I coach CX. Mid to senior level professionals who are aiming to become CXOs. One of the common things I keep telling them is to move into, start doing something which is making you feel uncomfortable.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, but I realized that I have to start doing something which is making me feel uncomfortable. And that's when I said, okay, wow, LinkedIn is providing this videos, and I used to see few people, very very big influencers coming on video and sharing. And I said, if I want to be an influencer, I have to start using and make myself uncomfortable in this zone. And that's how I started doing the videos. And of course, if you notice my first video to now, lots of things have changed, but it really transforms. Because to take one video, I may have to sometimes spend a lot of time, and that every minute that I would spend, adds more value to me, because it gave me that much more clarity, understood the challenges my clients are going through, understood the challenges my coaches are undergoing when they have to prepare for something. And honestly, two things happen when you share a video of you speaking. People start relating to you much better. As Sampark had earlier said, people don't have to come to, I don't have to explain what I do anymore. People already know me. In fact, I do get sometimes call, ma'am, we really know you. We just want to listen to you live so that then I can sign up for the program. That's what the beauty of live or video content is all about. It gives you the platform to showcase exactly who you are, what you want to do, and how you can be the change maker in someone's journey. And
Hmm.
it builds authenticity again.
Yeah, I think that is the key part, of course, that, and we all have some sweet spot. And actually, I got a question which is related to that. So let me bring that. And Sampak, maybe you can take this question, though it is addressed to both. So Ajay Nahar again a regular. He's asking, of course, congratulating you both. So thank you, Ajay. How have you been able to identify your sweet spot on topics or formats that work better for you than others? So I think Sampar, you broadly said that text works better for you, and do you have a certain format that works better for you, certain days, certain times? Anything that can help Ajay and other people who may have this question?
See, majorly, how do you find the sweet spot for yourself? I think everybody needs to find that at their own end. A little bit of experimentation works. Try the different formats. So LinkedIn has the text format. LinkedIn has an image. You can do newsletters. You can do lives. You can do videos. You can put up PDFs, carousels, etc. Go ahead, use them. See what works for you. What might work for me may not work for someone else. So what kind of topics work for you, again, that's something that you need to experiment at your end. You need to understand, one, what's your niche. Second, what's the brand that you are trying to build, what's the brand recall that you want to build for yourself. Accordingly, you start playing around with the topic. So if Radhika is talking about CXO, she would be talking a lot about leadership, managerial skills, etc. If I'm going to be talking a lot about sales, so I will be talking about what qualities do you need to excel in sales, how do you generate leads, how do you convert them. So that's how you pick up your topics. And formats, I would say experiment. Yes, text, I do a lot because that's more of my comfort zone. I've been doing that for a long time. uh, yes, as also again something that Radhika mentioned, you need to throw yourself out of that comfort zone. So next week onwards, the videos are also going to come in. So I would just, the only thing I will tell Ajay is, do not go by what has worked for me, do not go by what's worked for Anshuman or Radhika. Try, experiment, see what works for yourself. Use all the formats, use all the various things, and you'll find your sweet spot yourself.
Thanks, Ajay, for the question, and Sampak for the answer. I would have said the pretty much the same thing. So many people ask me, why do I do these live sessions live? Why don't I record and edit and present? And this is my sweet spot. I found that this was easier and more, I would say, more value generating for me. The kind of conversation sometimes happens that is unscripted actually brings out more value than maybe the scripted or overly edited videos. So I found my sweet spot in this, and I did the recorded and edited videos for quite some time, and then landed here. And suddenly this became my, you can say, personal brand of some kind. Now, I've been in some meetings where I have been introduced as the guy who does these, manage better live videos. So, Ajay, there is your answer. Do experiment a little bit, and you will find this thing. Of course, there is no formula. Like Sampak said, what worked for each one of us just may not work for you. You may have unique skills, unique strengths, which only you have, right? So, okay, one more question, and this is from Ankur, who's a regular on this show. Any suggestions to improve storytelling in our LinkedIn post? So, Radhika, you want to try, or Sampak, this is over to you. Any one of you.
So I'll take this. Maybe
Okay.
Sampark, you can add to it. So, as I said, storytelling is always something that, again, you have to keep writing. The more you write, the more it starts flowing through you. If you like to share content, if you are someone who likes to read, who likes to think a lot, it is important that you start taking the next action of writing, because that's the only way that you will be able to share your thoughts. Because when you write, your thoughts become more clear, and of course when you tell it in a story format, who does not like to read a story or listen to a story? And that's why, as parents also, when you have a child, you suddenly go back to the whole storytelling format, because you have a child, you want them to go to sleep or whatever, eat the food, everything has a story around it. So our life is very exciting when we have stories. Every day is has a story, every moment has a story. It is all about how alert you are to picking up those stories from your environment, and then you add it in your own way, basically reflect on it and put it in your style. As Anshuman and Sampark have said, there is nothing called something you can follow to the T. There are formats you can Google and you will find out 100 formats how to write a story. But that's not reality. Reality is how relevant you are to your audience. Forget about audience, first be relevant to yourself, then it automatically will become relevant to that audience who is like you in that space. That's what starts making the difference. There are 800 million people on LinkedIn. You don't have to please 800 people. You will always have that small niche which will be following you for what you're sharing, and that should be our focus, which is why constantly connecting to people on LinkedIn, responding to their answers, all helps you widen the network.
Yeah,
Sampark,
and
over to you.
yeah,
The
that's what
only
I.
while you mentioned everything, while I understand with time you grasp, the only point I'd like to add here is do not procrastinate. Don't go into this mode of "Arey, my English is not good. What if I make a fool of myself? Log kya kahenge?" Don't go into that mode. And that's if I throw a LinkedIn fact there, 98% people do not write on LinkedIn. So if you write, no matter what you write, you are anyways in the top 2%. So if you want to improve storytelling, take the plunge. You will learn to swim. There is no two ways about it.
So,
It will work.
so Sampark, this is a very interesting thing. When I was in school, my teachers used to say my English is bad and I can't write literary answers. And I literally took it to myself and I stopped writing. I would only write business letters. I would just make presentations and everything in terms of talking with respect to sales and market, client relationship, whatever was required from that perspective, but never took to writing. Though I would read a lot, think a lot, I never started it. And then that's when I started writing, things started happening because I just said, forget it. Now I have grown up enough. I don't need any teacher's comment on this. I don't need, if my grammar goes for a toss, it's okay. If sometimes you make spell errors, it's okay. People write messages to me, madam, you're not, this spelling check is incorrect. I said, thank you. I go back, edit and recorrect and then post it back. That's about it. So as you rightly said, just go take a plunge, and if you write, you are in the top 2%.
Yeah, yeah, unless you are, gunning for Nobel Prize in literature, which is never not there. So for us, we are not gunning for that. So please remember, even Jeffrey Archer is not even shortlisted for the Nobel Prize in literature. So all of us are fine. Just write. Um, Ramji Wallat. Ramji is a fascinating speaker himself. I much followed person, has a fantastic story of his life. Uh, he will be a guest on the show one day. But today he has a question. What is your frequency of posting content? And this is specifically to Sampath.
Ramji, I at least post 5 times a week. That's the sheer minimum that I have been doing. Yes, you do not need to start at that because that I'm sure that's a answer which might scare a lot of people. Uh, Start with one, start with two, and I because now my this is my bread and butter. So I it's at least 5 to 6 that I do in a week.
Yeah, and I think Ramji, the important part, of course, is that it works for Sampark, right? And we've said this many times in this show. It may not work for you. There are many people who say that just write 3 good posts a week, and that's enough. There are even people who do these algorithms and say that, okay, if your post is running for the whole day, why are you beating it down or cannibalizing it by posting again the next day? Let it run for another day, right? So we don't know what works. uh, you know I also, like Sampark, now write uh, 5 to 6 times a week, but earlier I used to write much lesser, and who knows, what works. So, but thanks for your question, Ramji. And we have a similar question for Radhika, from Anil. Radhika, your thoughts on this is a tough one. So good that it goes to Radhika. You answer this. Your thoughts on the attention span of 7 to 9 seconds. Let's say very short attention span. I don't know about the authenticity of 7 to 9 seconds, but we'll read it as very short. Very often posts are so long, 3 minute read, 6 minute read. Wouldn't it be better to break down the stories or videos down? So anything on this?
So, hi Anil, thank you for that question. Interesting one. So there are different kind of people who like different kind of videos. Sometimes, so typically in my videos, I try to do it between 1.5 minute to 2 minutes. That's the that's what I have come down to. Rather, earlier I started with 3 minute videos. Then I crushed it to 2 minutes because I realized that there are some things which may not be relevant. So you start condensing that the entire part. So for me, 2 minutes has been relevant because it gives enough and more. It becomes like a very, very short, minuscule coaching session in itself. It gives starts giving a sampler to people, addresses one point, and gives you the hacks for it. So and I feel that works good in LinkedIn because people who are relevant to you and who are following you start noticing you for that authenticity and that share that you're going to give on that video. So yes, 7 to 9 minutes seconds is relevant. So it all depends on how you start. So there should be certain pattern in the way you have to design your video so that you are able to grasp the attention in the first 7 to 9 seconds, which will ensure that they watch till the end, which interspersed with interesting points. So ask yourself, will I watch this video? If sometimes I will watch this video, I have scrapped some videos saying, oh, it doesn't sound interesting. And then I just redo it. So that's the process of learning. And unless I experiment it, I wouldn't know. There are hundreds of algorithms which run, but it's impossible to understand that entire spectrum. It's beyond me to understand. But I would say that I keep trying different formats. I follow many of the influencers. I follow a lot of their style, and I try to see which style will be relevant for me, what I can do to modify it and represent it in my way. So that's what I do. Yes, being crisp, clear, and to the point helps a lot for these 1.5 minute videos.
Yeah, I think that's awesome advice coming from somebody who's done really well with short videos. So hopefully, Anil, you got your answer. Yes, attention span is a problem, but it's not the only problem. The issue
So,
is that is there is
sorry, Anshuman. So most people start with "Hi, I am so and so." ऐसा start किया तो gone, attention span gone. So start with the problem directly. What are the challenges you face? Then you start noticing that person's video at least for 30 seconds. Then then it's up to you. Sorry, I cut you in
no, no,
between.
no. I was, making a similar point that look, the first few videos you will not like yourself. Like Radhika said, will you watch your own video and stay on till the end? If there's a lot of and all that, either you need a very good editing tool. And by the way, even if you're using a very good editing tool, the ums and ahs and ums and ums are very very difficult to edit. You will find too many jerks in your video. The video will not be in a flow. So the best option is to reduce it in your like I'm now you might have noticed there is a jerk in what I was saying. This is very difficult to remove in a video, right? So it is better to speak in a flow, and that takes a little bit practice and time, like every skill, right? So you want to get better at table tennis, you want to get better at badminton, you want to be a runner. Every skill needs some practice. There is no skill on earth which you will learn without practice. So this is another that skill. We are toward the end of the show, so I will just take a lot of congratulatory and thank you messages for both of you. And Neetal, who's also a quality coach. So thanks, Neetal, to be here. Is it better idea to plan LinkedIn event before we go LinkedIn live? Oh, so this is for me. So, Neetal, LinkedIn event is a LinkedIn asset or a property where you don't have to have a LinkedIn live thing. LinkedIn live is only for live streaming, like this event that you are seeing. This event can be done offline, can be done on other platforms, and you can only use LinkedIn to promote that offline or other platforms. using a LinkedIn event thing, right? LinkedIn event is just like what it says. It is an event. It doesn't mean live. Live is another sub format of LinkedIn event, which some people use, like I am using, where you need a streaming service and you will stream it live like this. So, for example, we are currently using um, StreamYard. We are actually on StreamYard, but you might be seeing it on LinkedIn or other platform that it is streaming on. So, but I know you well, you know me well. We can have this conversation offline as well. Um, Dr. Tithi Bhatnagar, who's a very leading professional in the leadership space, is thanking you all. Lots of comments. Tarun, I saw your questions. We are towards the end, so we will skip that and we can take it offline. So anyway, I think toward the end, maybe we can take one last question. There is still 3 4 minutes. So this question I have for both of you actually is that. This masterclass method is now quite popular, right? So, and Radhika, Sampak, you both have used Radhika. I have seen your masterclass quite often. So, anything that you can share about this masterclass method where you use it to share and build credibility and authenticity, and then that becomes your lead thing. Can you share a little bit how does it work for our audience?
So, masterclass helps to give people a sampler of what you are planning to do in the long form course. And it's very important that you share. It's not a sales pitch alone. Okay, that's just one small part of it, but the larger part of it is people need to know what is the value that they get if they have to be associated with me. So my focus is always, I know there are many master classes I have attended. The format is largely 80% sales, 20% value addition. But I reverse it and say 20% sales and 80% value addition because I am here for long term. I'm not here for just one quarter and the second quarter. For me, this is the space I have created for myself where I see that I'm going to be there for next 20 years. So for me, every masterclass is my space to show and tell people what I can do. And that's when for me that has really worked quite well. Yes, not everybody who joins the masterclass will sign up finally, but at least through this process it serves my purpose of reaching out to lakhs and lakhs of professionals and helping them, even if they learn one value, one secret and apply it in their life, I can tell you it will be wonderful for them. So yes, building business is important, but sharing value is more important for me. And yes, it has helped me because they know
Right.
you then.
Yeah,
Trust builds.
like you said, I think the point I will take away is that 80% value, and yes, of course, you have to sell something because that's why people are there, and some people will sign up. Sampark, any experience with the masterclass method or anything you want to add to what Radhika said?
So for me, Anshuman, I've used it in my initial days as a coach for the first year or so. It was a very good method to start generating that first set of leads. As Radhika mentioned, it's a good way to give that sample to people on, because for me also, people had never seen me as a coach. People had never seen me as a trainer. So this became a good way for people to see me. And once I think the whole lead generation started flowing in, uh, I do a lot more of B2B now. In the B2C, it was working very, very well for me. But somewhere I took a decision, okay, I think this is where it's going to take off for me. So I do a lot more B2B now. So master classes are a little more with less, I would say a lot lesser frequency than what I had done in the first year. But yes, it can be looked at. And I absolutely agree to what Radhika said. And I've attended because initially I was also trying to understand what others do. And it used to be a big sore when you saw that people only tried selling. And if you are genuinely adding value, as she mentioned, if you're adding value, people will come back. People will come back again and again. But if you're trying to do push sell, same thing with what I say on LinkedIn. If you're trying to sell with every post, people will go back into their cocoons. Nobody's going to come to you. Give
Correct.
value, people will come. Be it your masterclass, be it on LinkedIn. It works both ways.
Uh, a little bit I can add, and then we can end the show. Is of course this masterclass thing. And the successful masterclasses that you see, If it is a 1 hour masterclass, it is 55 minutes of value, and the sale is done in the last 5 minutes, or the proposal is made in the last 5 minutes. But the point to note is that you have to keep the audience alive and active for the first 55 minutes for them to last the get into the 56 minute. So your challenge is not the last 5 minutes, that you will do well because you are selling something, you are close to that product. The challenge is the first 50-55 minutes, which can you take the audience to that stage and then make the offer. So with that, we are up on time. It was a 1 hour show. Thank you, Sampark and Radhika, and to my lovely audience. There are lots of congratulatory and thanks messages coming in. Some I will show on the screen. Lots of messages. I can't show everything, but yeah, very pleased that we could make a session which could add value to people. And I know you both have had a hectic day and still agreed to this session with me. So thank you once again. I end every show with the announcement of the next show, and this time there are three next shows. So in the next 1 week, you may not like it, but I am the guest on the next show. on on Tuesday, I'll be speaking about higher education on a show hosted by Great Learning. So that's a webinar. If you are interested in education and higher education and options related to that, that might be a good show. I will, of course, share the links. And on my Qualitas show next Saturday, which is 11th at 11 a.m., which is our regular time, surprise, surprise, I am the guest on my own show. So look forward to that. Yeah, that's a funny one, because I do that show in collaboration with Kimpro Foundation, and they insisted this time that enough of this, you do these shows, we'll get you on there. So anyway, with that, once again, thank you everyone, and till we meet again, once again, bye bye. Thanks, Radhika and Champak. Bye bye.
Thanks, Anshuman. Thank you,
Thank
Radhika.
you.